Hey guys, I hope you can hear me. This wind. Anytime I come down here and I start to make a video, the wind picks up. It's a hex. It's a hex. Somebody got a hex on me. Now, I was sent one of those little microphones. They work good, but sometimes they don't work. And you'll make half a video and then you realize there was no sound at all being recorded. Now these guys that know a lot about this high-tech stuff, they can come back and talk over it. You know, they can add their voice to it. Y'all know I don't do that kind of stuff. What you see is what you get. That's what it is. What you see is what you get. I was thinking about something this morning. I was watching a little thing on TV, and it kind of reminded me, first responders and stuff, the stress that some of them go through, and nurses and doctors and firemen and police officers, and you know, they're confronted, seriously, they're confronted with a lot of stressful situations. And speaking for myself, from my law enforcement days, some of the scenes that you have to work, very stressful. And once you've seen these things, you don't get them out of your mind. They're there. And I was kind of watching where doctors seem sometimes kind of cold, you know, when they give somebody a bad report. And I don't think it's because they're cold. I think it's just that they've had to become that way to cope. And I think other people find different ways to cope with it, or different ways to cope with it. I knew a homicide investigator in Houston. And that's all he investigated was homicides. And he drank like a fish because I think the stress just ate on him constantly. Wake up drinking, go to sleep drinking. And a lot of folks do that. I mean, they have different ways to cope with the stress that comes on them. And you guys may have situations where y'all in your past or at some point, military, same way. Military, constant and combat and stuff, these guys look for ways to unwind. You know, that's why the military gives them R&R, you know, every so often, to kind of let them go to town and unwind, drink, eat, drink and be merry, I guess you call it. But I remember when I was with the sheriff's department, sometimes things were just really, you know, you'd be on the road day and night, it seemed like, sometimes for a couple of days without any rest, because we didn't have that luxury of that 8-hour shift. Like after 8 hours, somebody else take it over. It didn't work that way with us in our department and most of the little counties around us. You got a call, and it was your case. You got the call, it was yours. It's your baby throughout, all the way through. And all the way to it was solved, or the court system took care of it, or whatever. It was yours. And sometimes you'd be on the road all day, all night, and all day the next day before you could even come home and kick your boots off for a few minutes. And then you was on call. You might get a call right back out. So stress would build up, and these officers would look for different ways to relieve it. And I think a lot of officers find different things they do to relieve stress, but at the same time, they pick on each other, if that makes sense. Always picking. Always pick. And I've seen them, state troopers, pull up to the police department and run into the restroom. And they take the key with them naturally, but somebody didn't lock their car up, and some other police officer pull up, open the door, turn everything on, everything, siren, lights, everything. When they turn that key on, everything's gonna come on in that car. Lights going, siren going. stuff like that, just picking at people, then they drive off and leave it like that. And I had a friend that was a police chief, and actually he'd been a police chief in 3 different cities in the surrounding areas. And he was police chief over in Splendora at the time this happened. And a good friend of mine, he picked on me in different ways, and I'd pick on him every time we got around each other. Older guy, he's passed on now. I was working on a case out of Cleveland, out toward Tarleton Prairie, and I needed to go out there in a car that wasn't recognizable, you know, it's something kind of blend in with the neighborhood. So I went to the dealership there in Cleveland, and we knew all them guys. I said, look, I need to borrow a car for a couple of hours. I'm investigating something. I need something that's just inconspicuous, and so I can kind of mingle in the neighborhood, nobody think nothing about it. And he said, well, there's a little old green Pinto. It was a loaner, a rent car, or whatever. I don't know what it was. A little green Pinto. I said, hey, that'll work. So I took my handheld walkie-talkie, you can call it, I guess that, and put it in the car, and stuff I needed, the cameras and stuff, and took my cowboy hat off, put it in the floorboard, and I get in that little car, and it's got tinted windows, pretty neat, and I drive out in that neighborhood, and I take pictures of stuff I wanted to take pictures of without somebody noticing what I was doing. Stop, got a couple of addresses and stuff like that. Got out by a cornfield, checked it out, because that was kind of our issue there. The guy was growing marijuana in a cornfield, and it spotted it. It was really ingenious what he had done. He had corn stalks, a row or two of corn. There might be a few stalks of marijuana scattered in the corn, then a few more rows of corn. But it got spotted, and so they need to really verify it. So that's what I was doing, verifying it. And anyway, it worked out good. Anyway, I come home for lunch, and in that little car. And on my way back to Cleveland, I cut through Splendora. It's shorter back into Cleveland by that dealership. And I see my friend, he's working radar up beside the highway. So there's no traffic middle of the day like that back then anyway. So I'm not driving very fast, and I see him watching me coming, and I just start just weaving side to side, and I'm kind of slumped over just weaving side to side, and he can't tell who I am. Then I go by him, and he whips in behind me, his lights, but I don't stop. I just keep like I'm drunk or something. Follows me about 100 yards, he turns the siren on. That didn't work. Nothing coming now. I'm watching the mirror, watching ahead. I'm going from side to side. Finally, he gets on his little PA. Pull over, police, pull over, whatever. And there's a stop sign in the road's a T. It's a T. And I'm looking, there's nothing coming, neither way. So I don't even stop, I just pull right on out. Well, that time I see him pull his shotgun out of his gun rack. And I know he's gonna pull up beside me and shoot my tires off, and I can't take his car back with a shot off tire. So I pull over and jump out my hand. And I can see him back there looking at me cussing. Cussing me. But stuff like that. We did stuff like that all the time. I remember once he come in my office, and he'd been looking for this old boy that I had worked before. I'd dealt with him before. And the old boy was pretty thuggy. He was a thug, putting it mildly. And he said, man, I've been looking for old so-and-so, and I ain't gonna call no names. He said, he must have skipped the country. He said, he's gone. He said, I can't find that dude. He said, I got a warrant for him, and he told me what it's for. I think it's burglarized a house or something. And I knew where he was. I just sat there. And I said, well, what'd be worth to you if I find him? He said, well, you ain't gonna find him. First off, he started getting a little upset with me because I'm laughing at it. I said, well, if I might find him, I said, what's it gonna be worth to you? I'll buy you supper. I said, as much as wherever I want to eat. He said, yeah, wherever, I don't care, you ain't gonna find him. And he left. I told my partner, Waddell, sitting there, I said, Waddell, I'm gonna go get him, I know where he's at. And I had the warrant number and stuff, so I just got in my car and drove down. Sure enough, he come to the door and said, Bud, I got a warrant for you. Now, I dealt with him before, so I knew him, and he knew me. And we had this kind of understanding. I got a warrant for you from Splendor. Okay. So he come out and took him to the car, took him up to the office, and I called him up. That guy, I called him and said, hey, Bud, you ready to buy my supper? You got to find him first. I said, he's sitting here with me right now. Oh, yeah, I got supper out of him too. But you people do stuff like that all the time just to kind of take some of the tension out, because some of them jobs, some of them calls you went on was pretty stressful, Anyway, I thought I'd throw it on you a little bit. And I know other people go through it too. I knew a nurse in Cleveland. Actually, she was a could you call him an ex-aunt? Ex-aunt. She worked in Cleveland, and I had to go there several different times on things that involved, with cases that took me to the hospital to see different people or talk to the doctors and stuff like that. And she was always stressed out. She'd tell me sometimes how stressed out she was. Just, like I say, nurses get into it. Hospital people, firemen, first responders, police officers of all sorts and shapes and sizes. Anyway, that kind of comes to my mind about how we would always pick on each other. And I thought I'd just share that with you. And you may know some police officers that probably pick on each other, or other people in first responders that pick at each other for stress relief and stuff like that. I don't pick on my family for stress relief. I'm not that stressed. I have concerns with some of my family sometimes if things don't seem like it's going right, but I don't stress out, because we don't have that kind of problems in our family, so to speak. So we're not perfect either. So to speak. Anyway, I'm just sitting out here in the pasture. The goats are grazing. I just got through gifts and goodies, so this will be on another day altogether. And Ivan is back there with his people, him and Miracle, and I'm just relaxing. In a little bit, I'll go up and fix me something to eat. I haven't worked in this morning, so I don't need a shower right now. But I'm hot, but I will go in and cool off and fix something to eat, and gives G a little bit of time. She'll have them babies sleep here in a little bit. Nap time, I can go in. All right, guys, I'm gonna cut this off. It's a little short video. I'll get that to you. Hope you enjoy it. I want to thank you guys, all you guys. I've seen so many more people subscribing and liking my videos. I appreciate that, because it don't cost nothing, but YouTube will kind of push my videos a little bit more, and more exposure. And I got a couple of friends out there putting, doing little clips of things we do and putting it out on Facebook for people to look me up. I appreciate that. So I'm gonna cut this off. Catch you guys later. Oh, never forget, I love you. Y'all take care. Oh yeah. I was just fixing to leave, and I thought about what one of you guys told me, one of my friends out here. Her husband, excuse me, was a state trooper. I'm not gonna call her names. And about them playing tricks on each other. Another state, not here in Texas. And his friends, other officers, opened up his locker and put I guess pepper spray in his trousers, in his, trousers he'd wear home. So he comes in, from his shift, showers or whatever they do, and put his regular street clothes back on, and gets in the car and headed home. And that pepper spray starts to eating in. They put it in the crotch area. You can imagine. She said when he pulled in the driveway, he was running 100 miles an hour. He slid to a stop, jumped out running. Yeah, I bet that hurt. I had some of that pepper spray go off in my pocket one time. I carried one little dispenser in my pocket, and it blistered the heck out of me. Long story. But anyway, and I was thinking about one other thing. You know, a friend of mine, I heard him one night call him and say they had this here person intoxicated blocking a driveway. They'd pulled this driveway and just blocking it. And they sent him over to, you know, remove that person from that driveway. And it was on my way home. And I just left the office. I was doing reports. It's pretty late. So I just drove by there. And sure enough, I saw his lights going, and there's this truck in this driveway. The windows are cracked like so. The doors are locked. And there's a lady in there, and she's intoxicated in a big time. And he's telling her, ma'am, you need to open, the doors are locked. So I pull up, and I get out and walk up and make sure everything's okay, you know, and she's drunk. He's just a drunk woman. I got it, no problem. I'm going to get her to unlock this door, and I'm going to take her back to jail. Well, I walk around the other side, the windows are cracked, and I'm just kind of watching, you know, make sure, you know, everything's okay, kind of a backup. And he's talking, and he's really talking sweet to her. Ma'am, if you just open this door, I'm going to take you home or whatever. And she said, no, you're going to put me in jail. And he said, oh, no, I'm not. You'd have her almost talked into reaching over that door now to get up that window. You open that door, he's going to lock your butt up. She's jerking. And he'd look around the back of that cab and cuss me. Shut up. Stop. I won't say no more. And he'd do it again. Get almost at that point. She's almost. He's going to lock you up. Fine, I said, fine. You don't want my help, I'm going home. I got my car and left. And sure enough, she finally unlocked it, and he sure enough put her in jail. All right, guys, I'm going to cut this off. I love you guys.